Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Well, I'm joined now from New York by the Trump supporter and conservative commentator, Ann Coulter. Welcome to the programme again. Why do you think Donald Trump keeps saying the security of our nation is at stake when the judges have made it absolutely clear that the government has presented no evidence that any alien from any of the countries named in the order has perpetrated an attack on the United States?
Well, two things. The judges can say that, but it isn't true. It isn't true at all. In fact, two of the famous cases just in the last year, the Somali who started stabbing people and running them over at Ohio State University, and then at Christmas time, the Somali refugee who started stabbing people at a shopping mall.
You're not going to start talking about the Bowling Green massacre, are you?
Quite recent. I was the one who first introduced that to the world, and no, I know what happened since I found out about it from reading the court transcripts and writing about it, including in my book, Adios America. So point one, the court's factual finding is wrong. Point two, it is not up to the court to make this factual finding. And it may sound like this is some horrible defeat for the president to untrained ears, but, you know, there are 1,000 judges. The Ninth Circuit is the most overruled circuit, and the law is absolutely unequivocally clear that it is the president who sets immigration policy. The courts have found that over and over and over again, that it is an extension of foreign policy. This is absolutely within the president's discretion. We don't need to hear from any federal judges on this, but we do have a lot of lawless judges. And
well, the judges make it clear it's not.
Just because they go last doesn't make them more important than the president.
I don't know whether
the president has powers that courts don't.
Yeah, I don't know whether you're a lawyer, but I mean, these judges are, and they're
Yes,
pretty clear that, you know, the idea that a presidential order on immigration can't be reviewed just isn't true. I mean, look, we'll see when this goes to the Supreme Court. But the wider question is about Trump's relationship with the truth. Because as days go on, it's more and more clear that what comes out of the president and his administration just can't be trusted. And, you know, you have to wonder whether at first you thought it was maybe he just doesn't know, maybe these are just mistakes. But now it's starting to look deliberate. It's starting to look like deliberate misinformation.
Well, that just, without any specific example. I mean, I just had to correct
let me give you a few.
The judges on a factual claim. You just repeated something that is factually untrue, that no one from these countries, I mean, there are dozens of them, have been arrested and convicted for committing terrorism, and plus which, it doesn't matter.
Well, I look forward to you sending me the list of dozens.
This is part of the president's...
I mean, let's take a, you know, if you take the Pulitzer Prize-winning PolitiFact...
Will you read them?
Who are renowned
fact
checkers.
Will you read them on air?
Score,
I mean, you make this snotty little remark.
No,
I'd be perfectly happy to send you not only dozens of cases, of convictions. No, you're just being snotty and sarcastic.
No, I'm trying to... Let's get to the questions. I mean, look, the point is...
to a factual case that does not require... I just gave you two, when anyone in America, certainly, I'm
when
surprised
Donald
you don't
Trump
know about the
said the
Ohio
murder rate
State
in our
University
country is the highest it's been in 47
or the
years.
St. Cloud Mall stabbing, I can also give you two cases that I think you ought to remember. They were certainly big cases in America. One was the president sending home Elian Gonzalez to Cuba. The court found, yes, he will be persecuted in Cuba, but immigration is solely the discretion of the president.
Okay, let's just look at some of the Trump untruths. No, hang on. Don't just keep talking. I want to ask you some questions. If you look at PolitiFact, the fact-checking website, I mean, they score Donald Trump's truthfulness extremely badly. I mean, the murder rate in our country is the highest it's been in 47 years, he said. Completely untrue. I've already saved more than $700 million when I got involved in the negotiation on the F-35. Mostly false. When he claimed that the media doesn't deliberately report on terrorist attacks around the world, it was nonsense. I mean, you can keep saying he tells the truth. It's clear to everybody else he doesn't.
No, I rate PolitiFact mostly false. So first, you have already given 2 false facts. Well, 3 actually. We have the 2 I just mentioned. Yes, there have been terrorist attacks from these people, and yes, it is solely the president's prerogative. In the little package that came on before I went on,
that's an argument. It's not a fact.
Absolutely.
That's a legal argument. It's not a fact.
Unprecedented too. It is a fact that the Supreme Court has said the precise words that immigration, as an extension of the president's foreign policy, it is up to the president. They have said, and I just gave you 2 famous cases, so you don't have to look up the case law.
Well, address the one on
Arizona
murder.
law.
What about the murder claim?
The Elian Gonzalez case.
What about the murder claim?
Well, how about the claim that you're
Was it
talking about
true?
something that
Was it true?
said months ago, and it was true. And you know what
It
was
was
untrue?
true.
That you just told your viewers. You just told your viewers that it's unprecedented for a president to attack judges. Obama did it at the State of the Union address, attacking judges. I mean, this idea we have President Trump all over magazines with, crosshairs of an assassination target on his face, but we can't criticize these precious judges. No, liberals like judges because they're not elected and they can just invent stuff and say, oh, we read it in the Constitution.
But the question is whether it's presidential, whether it's appropriate for the leader of the free world. The reason it upsets so many people in Britain is because Britain loves America, or many people in Britain love America, and when the president appears to be tweeting about Nordstrom and his daughter's range of clothes, rather than the very serious problems that there are in the world and the terrible terrorist attack in Canada that he still hasn't mentioned anywhere, people find that really worrying, and you don't seem to find it at all embarrassing. That's what's surprising.
No, to the contrary. I've criticized him on the Nordstrom tweet, too. No, we shouldn't have done that. Congratulations. You got one. But you did misstate a fact that is certainly not slowing him down from defending America. He's a bundle of activity, and he's able to impose these travel restrictions and fight with the court and nominate a Supreme Court justice. Oh, he can do it all and send out a mildly inappropriate tweet.
Do you think he will be offended by what's been said to him about his British trip? That the Speaker of the House of Commons doesn't want him anywhere near addressing the House in the way Barack Obama did. Will he care?
No, I don't think his feelings will be hurt. I think he'll get over it. He's the leader of the free world.
He does care about
He's
appearances,
protecting America.
I mean, he does want this visit. He's talked about how important Britain is and the special relationship. And
yeah, it is. It is. Britain is an important ally. And you just gave, I think, 6 false facts. You claim that the British are appalled by Trump. Well, according to the polls I see, they like that they're more in favor of this travel
British
ban
people,
than even Americans are.
I won't claim to speak for my country, but a lot of people are appalled. That's pretty clear. Whether it's a majority or not, who knows?
A lot of people are appalled about everything. To be acting like you're speaking for the British people and you're appalled by Trump, no, that is manifestly not true. My guess is you thought they were appalled by the Brexit vote, too.
Do you think...
And yet it passed.
But do you think the way this first most important executive order on the travel ban was well handled? Because, I mean, we've now learned an awful lot about how it was executed, the extent to which Donald Trump really was aware of precisely what was going on, the extent to which Steve Bannon was involved in it. I mean, do you think it was handled professionally? Or do they need to learn, from this and do things better?
No, the only thing they need to learn, and boy, have they learned it, is that there will be massive resistance to anything Trump tries to do on immigration, which was the main reason he was elected president in a shocking victory. I mean, for Pete's sake, he's never held elective office. He's this sort of wild, brash billionaire. It's not like Americans looked around the country and said, let's put a reality TV star in the White House. No, it was because of his positions on immigration that have been ignored by both political parties and the media for decades and decades. And there is going to be massive resistance for every little thing he does. And this was a very little thing. There was some confusion for a while in the press about whether Obama had in fact, imposed the same travel ban for 6 months.
That wasn't true either, was it?
At some point on Syria. I didn't say it was. Perhaps you reported it. Maybe that's another false fact I'm getting from you guys. I'm just saying that it wasn't an insane extension, because these are the 7 countries designated as terrorist countries, or as Madeleine Albright changed the terminology, countries of particular concern. These are the 7 terrorist countries designated by Hillary Clinton's State Department under Obama. To have a 2-month travel pause? I mean, this is the
We've got to leave it there. We've got to have a pause.
Like this.
I hope it won't be 2 months before you come back. Ann Coulter, thank you very much. Now, as we've already seen on tonight's programme, the challenge, finding the truth in a sea of disinformation, sorting facts from alternative facts, when the leader of the free world tweets in angry capitals, when journalists can't even ask questions without their own integrity being questioned. This is the world of fake news, which we've been reporting all week, from Europe's far-right Holocaust deniers to Google's algorithm, which throws out offensive suggestions to a simple search. It seems the big lie won't die, it just goes viral instead. Tonight, we meet the social media trolls operating openly in the Philippines. We speak to one of Europe's leading philosophers about the illusion of freedom. But first, Paul McNamara has been to Hungary to track down one of Britain's far-right leaders.
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Fake news played a role in this election.
I'm really surprised the BBC is reporting fake news.
Are we fake news, Kellyanne? Is CNN fake news?
No, I don't think CNN is fake news.
Well, they might not be, but what is fake news anyway? Sometimes full-on fiction shared on social media, sometimes tall tales exaggerated to the extreme. We've come to Hungary to try and find James Dowson, a British far-right financier who finds sanctuary for his views here in a country with a right-wing government. He's a consultant to a host of dubious news sites.
A network of websites all lead back to this address here in Budapest. Pro-Trump websites in the US, anti-immigration sites in the UK, right-wing websites across the whole of Eastern Europe. But unlike many other so-called fake news sites, merely making money isn't the end game here. Regime change is. Because behind all of them, at the heart of these sites, is a group called Knights Templar International. And for them, internet propaganda is merely the latest weapon in an age-old crusade.
Linked to all these sites is a group called Knights Templar International, Christian fundamentalists who believe they're on a mission from God.
We call it crusade.
Is that how you see it? You see yourself involved in the holy war?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi there, I'm a journalist from Channel 4 News in London, and we're trying to speak to Knights Templar and James Dowson.
James Dowson is the spokesman for Knights Templar International. And he's no stranger to the far right. He raised millions for the BNP, then bankrolled Britain First, the far-right political party, and now he's gone international and moved into advising news sites, of a sort. Hillary Clinton talking to the dead on patriotnewsagency.com. Angela Merkel using the hand signs of secret societies on thisisengland.org. All websites that lead back to James Dowson and Knights Templar International. All websites claiming to be reputable, credible news sources. Knights Templar are experts at exploiting social media to promote their message, according to former BNP member turned anti-fascist campaigner Matthew Collins.
They are pumping out thousands and thousands of pieces of literature. They're offering websites, Facebook pages to people. They've worked out how to use the algorithms that Facebook uses, and I think to a degree Twitter might use, so they can exploit them.
There's another reason these sites look like credible sources of news, the credible brands whose adverts appear on them. And that's because of software like Google's AdSense displaying targeted ads. Often unknown to both the reader and the advertiser, it's an algorithm responsible for ads by respected news outlets like the Financial Times, the New Statesman magazine, or brands like the Open University that has placed them on the pages of the Trump tub-thumping Patriot News Agency. The Financial Times, New Statesman and Open Universities all told us the integrity of their brands were paramount, and they were frustrated to see adverts on these sites. The problem is the nature of the algorithms, they say, and they would like tech providers to do more. And Google told us they disable ad serving against websites that break strict policies of malice or misrepresentation, and urge users to contact them if they're concerned rules will be broken. Winter months are slow months for tourism in Budapest. Not that a bit of cold seems to deter Mr. Dowson.
So what is it about Hungary? Why are far-right bit players from the fringes of British politics cropping up 1,000 miles from home? Well, here, their views aren't on the fringes. Here, their views won 20% of the vote at the last general election. Here, their views are represented significantly in Parliament.
Dowson has been able to fit right in with the far-right scene here, caught in the Jobbik party. We've come to ask about Dowson's involvement. A decade ago, Jobbik barely existed. As you can see, they've grown. At this Jobbik rally 3 years ago, thousands gathered for a political party that has openly vilified Jews, gays and foreigners. Today, they are the country's official opposition, and last month relaunched the party with a policy shift to the mainstream.
This is now the era of the new Jobbik, the softer Jobbik, but some would say you've had the views you've had for the last 10 years. Have they really changed, or are you just a wolf in sheep's clothing now?
I won't deny it, absolutely. But the packaging is different, and you have to be able to...
And is it the packaging that's important?
Well, sometimes. I mean, of course, if you go into a shop, then the packaging and the appearance also appeals.
A few alternative facts of their own, perhaps. So what about the impact of fake news? It's awful, they say, but then said all media can misinform, even if unintentionally.
And what do you think of the ones on purpose?
The majority of our battles, and this you can think of military battles or economic battles or trade battles or whatever, are fought through the soft power, by the means of soft power, and the media is also within the soft power.
No surprise then the affinity between the party and James Dowson. This picture taken inside the Hungarian parliament as guests of Jobbik according to the Knights Templar International. And Mr Dowson is supportive too of the militias that back Jobbik. This is him this week.
Just because they're big guys with muscles and no hair doesn't mean they're any less a human being. They are my friends and I'm very proud to be associated with them.
Not that Mr Dowson limits his work to just Hungary. Here he is supplying a Bulgarian militia who patrol the borders for migrants.
The Knights Templar have came and gave them ballistic vests, drones, night vision goggles to help these people in the job that they've got. These are not Boy Scouts coming through here.
Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban has already drawn the country right of centre, with his clampdown on media, clampdown on migrants and a razor-wire fence around its borders. The allure for the far right isn't that surprising to journalists here, but it is deeply concerning.
Hungary has a far right-wing government led by Viktor Orban. In Hungary, the majority of the residents refused the migration from the east, from Syria, from Afghanistan.
James Dowson told us that alongside the many thousands of accurate articles on those websites, there are 2 or 3 that he would question. He told us he's delighted to advise many patriot groups around the world, but didn't actually own the website or operate on the behalf of any group, website or company. He added his main activities with Knights Templar International have been delivering large quantities of winter clothes to poor European families. Tonight, the articles we flagged have been pulled off the web. The internet is a few fake stories lighter.
Well, on to the Philippines, where foul-mouthed online trolling isn't just legal, it's openly courted to aid political campaigns or denigrate opponents. In fact, armies of them have been credited with helping President Duterte get into power, while his rivals have been accused of similar dirty tactics. Our correspondent Kieran Jenkins has been finding out how the war of ideas is being fought on social media, with high-profile personalities on both sides. And a warning, there's flash photography in his report.
In the Philippines, there's not just a war on drugs, there's a war on the truth.
It's deliberate control of the minds of other people.
Fake news, fake people.
So you literally just go on the internet and find a picture of some bloke and assume his identity.
Yes. Unsure who to believe.
So you're the Mocha girls, right?
Filipinos are turning to unorthodox sources.
So you're like a mouthpiece for the government?
Well, something like that, but it's voluntary.
We're in Manila, in the Philippines. A nation seemingly besotted with their newish president and his crackdown on drugs.
If you destroy my country, I'll kill you.
Although Rodrigo Duterte is accused of inciting the killing of thousands of his own people, he rules with remarkably little dissent.
Now, the war on drugs here has been violent, it has been unprecedented. But less well understood is how attempts to influence ordinary Filipinos' response to it is a phenomenon in itself. Go online here and you will find some of the most fearsome internet trolls in the world. These are anonymous, organized social media users who have taken threatening, intimidating, silencing their opponents to a whole new level. Hello. Hi.
Just look at what's happened to Duterte's most vocal opponent.
Overnight, I got more than 2,000 hate messages and calls, including death threats.
Senator Leila de Lima has been the subject of countless fake news articles.
So they made it appear that my son was with me, and then he was caught, arrested for possession of 50 kilograms of drugs.
She's also been accused of taking payoffs from drug lords and of filming a sex tape with her driver. These last two accusations have been advanced by President Duterte himself.
Every time I view the video, I lose my appetite.
The president has suggested that you took part in a sex tape. And it was
He's so sick. He's sick-minded. It's incessant. They are relentless. So in various forms, I'm being attacked at all fronts.
Do you honestly believe that President Duterte is using fake news, using internet trolls to try and destroy you?
Oh yes, I have no doubt about that, because I've seen how capable they are.
Online gossip has a habit of seeping into the mainstream here. Filipinos are among the world's most prolific social media users. So owning the online debate matters, and to control, you need trolls.
I myself, I'm a troll.
And this man will happily sell you some.
You have trolls working for you.
Yes.
And you create fake Facebook profiles.
Yes.
Which you then operate and pretend to be other people.
Yes, yes, yes.
Armand Nocum says he has operatives across the Philippines controlling 30 or 40 fake accounts each.
So if I'm a political candidate in the Philippines and I say something against your candidate, will your trolls attack me?
Yes, by the hundreds of them. We are capitalizing on the tendency of people to go where many are going. You call that herd mentality.
Herd
yes.
mentality.
So we're not in this box? No way.
Armand is an ex-journalist. He says he doesn't do fake news, just trolls he supplied to 30 political campaigns, but not to President Duterte.
You were given the impression that there is public support for certain things when it's all made up. It's all created by you. It's all false.
It's propaganda, yes, but propaganda is as old as men, right?
Welcome to Rappler.
On the trail of the trolls, the editor of a major news website.
Do you think what's happening here in the Philippines is in any way more unique than the rest of the world?
We're 6 months ahead of the United States.
Maria Ressa says her investigation shows Duterte trolls are being paid up to 100,000 pesos, £1,600 a month, but she hasn't found a direct link to the president.
And how convinced are you that that itself is true?
How convinced are you that the story that you would do, that you would put your name on, is true? We were trying to understand why the Philippines, which had long stood for human rights, why it's okay that thousands of Filipinos are being killed in the drug war. So what is it? When people post on social media that they question it, they're clobbered.
Duterte's government say they don't pay trolls, but the president has been quick to denounce sections of the media, and many here now get their news and opinion from elsewhere.
Now, for a month before and a whole month after the election, Duterte refused to speak to the press, wouldn't give any interviews, with one exception, this woman right here.
Boca Uson, singer, dancer, former sex blogger, now a pro-Duterte blogger with 4.8 million Facebook followers.
Different government agencies, they send their, if they want to, disseminate information, they send me emails.
and I post them on Facebook.
What if the government isn't telling the truth?
Mocha says she's a victim of trolling. So we talk about the alleged smear campaign against Duterte's chief critic.
What about the rumours that are spread about De Lima having a sex tape? The rumours
Are
are
you
spread
sure
by
that's
the
a rumor?
Duterte himself?
Are you sure that's a rumor?
Are you sure it's not?
Are you sure it's not a rumor?
Are you sure it's not?
Well, maybe we'll wait for things to happen.
If this is an information war, Duterte appears to be winning. Right and wrong, true and false, the lines are increasingly blurred.
Now, he said the Liberal left is as guilty of an assault on information as the far right, and claimed that we're under the illusion of being free to decide how to vote. That's the philosopher Slavoj Žižek. I spoke to him earlier from Slovenia and asked him what he thinks is behind the surge in populist politics in which many people share fake news.
The ongoing rise of populism is grounded for many ordinary people precisely in this growing experience of don't believe in what government of public media are telling you.
But whose fault is this?
We should not just blame the right-wingers. Usually the right is accused of exploding with fake news and so on and so on. Unfortunately, I must say the left is doing the same, not only at the level of spinning, of giving a spin to news. For example, in Europe, I can see this all the time, now that we have this problem with immigrants. On the one hand, the nationalist right-wing media exaggerate every small incident. On the other hand, the left mainstream media censor the news.
There is a difference between good journalism that is inconvenient and bad journalism and fake news, which is completely made up and designed to mislead you.
I totally agree with you. There is a tremendous interest between serious journalism, which also can go wrong, and this marginal fake media manipulators. But the line is getting blurred, which is terrible news for honest journalists.
We live in an era in which living standards have improved historically, people are better educated, there are more democratic freedoms, and yet there seems to be more political anger across the Western world and across democracies. And I wonder why that is.
Oh, I think to this I can give you a simple answer. The first sad lesson from history is that anger, rage, and so on don't explode. I'm almost tempted to say they almost never explode when the situation is really horrible or when we have total oppression and so on. Rage is always a question of comparative dissatisfaction. Rage means that people have higher standards of expectation and also they feel the difference. That's the big problem. Today is the dangerous situation for something to happen in China, not in North Korea, where they would have had much more reasons to be in total rage.
So what happens now after Trump? You know, will there be a backlash after Trump, because there is so much expectation there, expectation he surely can't deliver on?
I hope so. That's why I mockingly, although I'm horrified at Trump, not supporting him, but claimed maybe his electing Trump can give a boost to a new left in United States. But you know what worries me with Trump? Don't underestimate him. Quite often, it happens that even if a leader like Trump is a populist demagogue and so on, at least in the short term, he will be maybe able to deliver. You know, it is as if these left liberal commentators, who are typically the most successful, are comedians, like John Oliver, Jon Stewart, and others. They don't see that by mocking Trump in this way, they don't really undermine him. They just render bitter and more fanatical those who support Trump. And this is very sad. Instead of proposing an alternate vision of how to change things, all the liberal left is doing, or at least what is it doing in the most convincing way, is making fun, demonstrating the stupidity and so on and so on. All the big problems that we see today, why did new populism explode? Ecological problems and so on and so on. Trump is the reaction to these problems. That's my big motive. Trump is, as they say, an effect, not a cause. Well, if we will just fight Trump, in the long term, it will not work. It will be a catastrophe.
If Trump
ecological
is a
catastrophe,
reaction,
cultural catastrophe, whatever you want.
if Trump is a reaction to the failure of democracy, does democracy hold the answer?
I'm definitely not saying we should move beyond democracy. But we should do something with democracy. The solution is not just fight Trump, fight fake news. The solution is a new global leftist vision.
The philosopher Slavoj Žižek.